Hi everyone, welcome to Mike's Nature Connection. Today we're going to be talking about building this nest box here. Simple to put together and easy to follow along. All you need is an 8-foot long 1x10 board. And I used number 2 grade pine, the cheap stuff, untreated. You don't want to use treated wood for nest boxes anyway. I follow a design I found online called a one board design. You end up with very little scrap wood, and what little scrap wood I have ends up in my wood stove, so nothing is wasted anyway. I make a couple of modifications, so the necessary measurement changes. I prefer the front to swing open like a door to access the inside of the box instead of the side. You'll see other designs that will have a hinged roof and they open that way. The owls really don't care. This is just a preference of mine. I've been building it this way for years, and it's the one I'm going to show you today. I've been very busy with these lately because we are fast approaching breeding season for eastern screech owl. They have already begun getting territorial, and before you know it, they will be in boxes and in natural cavities, and they will be on their nests, so time is of the essence. Last year I started a project where I got over 30 of them up in my town and surrounding communities. This year I'm looking at another 20. Half of them are up already. Hopefully I will finish those off this week. I've had a lot of great volunteer help. I couldn't have done it without them, so it's really worked out well, and I've had a lot of boxes actually used. Other birds will use these to nest. I've had northern saw-whet owl take up residence before. This is the same design you would use for American kestrel. Much different habitat and different time of year, of course. Smaller birds that might not require a space this large might use it, like great crested flycatcher or northern flicker. They might use it because it's all that's available to them, which brings me to my next point. Finding suitable holes in nature, natural cavities, are really hard to find. Habitat is shrinking, so that's certainly a big factor. And you also have that problem compounded with invasive bird species like European starlings that are very aggressive in overtaking cavities. So they outcompete native birds, and that's become a real problem. So we do what we can to provide more opportunity for them, and building these boxes certainly helps. So whatever you can do is great. Certainly supporting conservation organizations is one way you can help out, and getting involved in building your own boxes, or maybe building boxes for local conservation land, is something that you might be inspired to do. It's a lot of fun, especially when you get other people involved. I hope you enjoy. I use one board marked as a template. Makes it easy when you are cutting up wood for a bunch of boxes. I simply line up my cut lines, and when I'm done with that, I slide it off to the side and make my lines with my little square here. I made this angled block to make it easier to do the cut for the angled roof here, so it kind of matches up nicely. Perfect. One important step is adding some texture on the inside of the box for young owls to be able to crawl out of there when they're ready to fledge. Now, some people will put a screen in place here, but there's been a little controversy about that. I guess there's been some issues where some young owls and even adult owls have had their talons stuck in the screen and not being able to get out of the box. So we do something much safer by scoring some shallow grooves across the inside of the box. And I start about maybe an inch down from the hole or so. Really measure it and just shift it over a little bit and keep making passes. So this is what you end up with, and again, much safer option than putting some screen in there. Nothing can get caught underneath anything here. There's a lot of different ways to put the box together, but what I do is I put the floor at the bottom just to use it as a spacer for how far apart these go, and I also use it to line up the sides so they're even distance apart. I put the back of the box on the back of the sides. I don't really make any measurements here. Some of these backings are different sizes, but I leave a little bit more room on the top of the box. And I just make sure the edge is flush. And then start banging. After I have the sides attached to the back, I put the floor in place on the bottom here. Make it as flush as I can. And then add a couple of nails on each side. After the floor is in place, I put the front of the box in place, and here I bring the front down just slightly from the top. It creates a vent, and it also gives space because this is the part that will swing open if the box ever needs to be cleaned out, or if you have somebody that's going to be banding the young owls, you can access the inside of the box that way. So there will be a nail on each side, same distance down, and that will basically be the hinge for the front of this box, and it will be later secured in the side with a screw so it can't open on its own. I set the box on the edge of the bench. I put the roof in place with the angled part going up against the back so it fits nice and flush. I put 4 nails in on each side. Make sure you don't put it across the front because remember that's the part that actually swings open to access the box. Just a couple more things we're doing here. I use a drill bit for a pilot hole that's going to match up pretty well for this 2-inch screw. And this 2-inch screw goes in place here. You don't need to sock it in tight all the way. You can leave the head sticking out a little bit. All it does is keep the door from swinging open. So if you need to access this box, you swing it open, and when you close it up, you put the screw back in place. And the other thing we do is we put drain holes in the bottom using a larger drill bit than what we use for the pilot hole. And I do about 5 usually. I spread 4 out and then put 1 in the middle. And we'll talk about what goes inside the box next. Eastern screech owls don't add anything to the nest. There's no construction. They don't line it with anything. But one good thing to put in it is wood shavings. Not sawdust, but the sort of shavings that you would get at a pet supply store. And I usually put enough in to fill up a couple inches on the bottom or so. Roughly, doesn't matter that much. I just like to have some layer in there. And then you put that screw in and you're good to go. Thanks for taking the time to watch the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I inspired you in some way to get out there and build your own box and get it put up on your own property. If you have any questions about what you saw, feel free to drop it in the comments. You can even shoot me an email. My email address can be found on my YouTube channel page. It doesn't need to be questions either. I'd love to hear about your own story. Maybe you have a successful nest box on your property and you have some fun stories about it. I'd love to hear it. Just wanted to add that you don't need to be a master craftsman to put one of these together. They don't need to be perfect. You don't need a table saw. You don't need a drill press. You can use a handsaw to put these together if you really wanted to. Also, keep an eye out for the follow-up video that will be talking about the placement of an Eastern Screech Owl box. I will go over the different factors and considerations you need to make. And regarding other videos, if you haven't checked out my channel yet, I have a wide variety of stuff, everything from birds to kayaking to hiking to gear reviews, you name it. Anything related to the outdoors is fair game for me. So if you love that stuff, feel free to drop me a follow, and I'd appreciate that. Thanks for watching.